Hello, I'd like to introduce you to my new book, Fighting for My Life. This is a follow-on from my first one, A Prayer Before Dawn, which is now a critically acclaimed movie with the same name. This book is full of addiction, pain, misery and loss. It's explosive, it has its ups and downs, it's also got humour. I'd like to say a big thank you to the guys that have reviewed it. Joe Cole, James English, Liam Harrison and Neil Sandward. If you'd like to buy it, please do. Let me know what you think of it, and thank you. Hello everybody, welcome to the Billy Moore podcast, and my special guest today is film analyst Rob Ager. So Rob, thanks for coming along and, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, Billy, it's fucking good to see you, mate.
Thank you, and you too.
We went to school together back in the day, and I don't know if you remember, but the first day when I came to St. John's was in second year, and we were in the same form class. You were the very first person I sat next to on my first day in that school. Do you remember that?
You lucky bastard.
Yeah, so that always stuck in me head. That I always remembered you for that, Yeah, so I'm glad. 32 years ago, I think, or 33. Something like that.
It's a long time ago, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I met you recently again through somebody mentioning you on the podcast. I said, do you know Rob Ager? He's I'm sure he went to school with you. He's done a film review of the movie. So I thought, okay, wonder what he's said about it. And I said, obviously he has to search, but then we got in touch. So and you've got, I was quite surprised really. You've got over almost 180,000 subscribers, and
yeah, it's close to it now.
It's big views, big numbers. So how did all that come about coming from school, and what happened in your life, and what's going on? Tell us a little bit about you.
Long story. I mean, some of your audience won't really know about the stuff that I do. So I mean, I could start off explaining that and then go to how that happened from school, because there's a lot in between.
Yeah.
Should we do it that way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so basically the film analysis stuff is, it's something I never expected to do with my life. I mean, when we were in school, there was no internet, was there? No. So you had no anticipation of things like this. And, well, I don't know if you remember, but I was always mad into me films. I was always obsessed with one film or another. One year it was Blade Runner. The next year it was Aliens. And, I was always mad on me films. And it was my dad who made me like that. But I got into filmmaking a long time after leaving school. Like, I was about maybe 27 years old when digital video cameras came cheap on the market. They were sort of new out, and it was like, wow, now anyone can make films and edit at home. Before that, you had to be like rich and go to university and stuff to get into filmmaking. So I always wanted to do filmmaking from when I was younger, but I felt like I didn't have the opportunity until all the digital technology came along. So started making short films and stuff, half-hour short films, proper scripting them and all that kind of stuff. And at the same time, I'd been working in mental health, and I was working in probation and stuff. 17 years working in all that kind of thing, working with the homeless, abused kids, all kinds. And while I was doing all that, I was reading tons of psychology books and things, So I was trying to combine those two. All the stuff I was learning about the psychology with filmmaking. And so I started doing all subliminal things in the films I was doing, instead of just making it all based on dialogue. And then I started noticing that a lot of the best filmmakers over the years, Spielberg and Alfred Hitchcock,
Stanley Kubrick,
Kubrick, of course, David Lynch, all of them, I started studying their films because I wanted to be a better filmmaker. So I thought I'll study their best scenes and break them down shot by shot, every little detail, to figure out what makes these scenes so fucking good,
Yeah.
So that was a big revelation, because I started to see all this stuff, clever little things they've been doing in the films. And I was so impressed with it that I forgot about making my own films, basically. And YouTube had just come out at the time, 2006. And so I started a channel on there, and I thought I want to post some videos telling people about this stuff I'm learning about these classic movies. And I thought at the beginning, I thought maybe I'll get a couple of 100 subscribers and it'll just be like pure film geeks or people who work in the film industry, amateur filmmakers, and everyone else will just be like, get the freak there going on about these films. But no, there was a massive audience. First couple of months, 10,000 subscribers, dead quick. Even started getting a little bit of media coverage on some of the videos right away. And it just built up from there. And at the time, I'm not aware that there was any other YouTubers who were doing these kind of in-depth film studies. Nowadays, there's loads of them. But I think I was one of the first. I don't know if I was necessarily the first. The only other one that I'm aware of is Red Letter Media. They've got something like 1 million subscribers. There's about 4 or 5 American guys. And they do film studies, but theirs are mostly funny stuff. They take the piss out of crap movies and stuff, you know. And they are pretty good, but it's different to mine, which is more sort of academic. And so, yeah, I was one of the first ones to do it. And then since then, all that stuff has exploded on YouTube. There's loads of corporate funded channels that bash out like 5 videos a week doing film studies. And some of them rip off my stuff. I've had legal wranglings with 1 or 2 of them over the years where they've ripped me off and they've had to take the videos down or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I haven't got like the millions of subscribers they've got, but I've got my own hardcore following, and they always tell me, whether I bump into them in the street or whether they email, they always say there's nobody else doing this kind of stuff the way that you do it. Yeah. So I've got onto something that's unique. So that's where I'm at the moment. And so, you know, that's all been going fantastic. Like, it was great to find out that so many people were so interested in these movies. And, you know,
because most of the movies that I've seen on line that you've got up, like Full Metal Jacket, and I watched that the other day, and I was quite intrigued and interested in how you were guiding the audience through the scene. Yeah. You know, right through the films. Right through the film.
It's like a commentary in it.
Yeah. And like Alien and the old school that you said before, Blade Runner. Yeah. What do you notice that the audience are missing?
Well, it's partially because I used to make films myself. Yeah. When I was doing the films, I mean, like most people in the film industry, they specialise in one thing. They either write or direct, or they're an editor, or a prop person, or a costume designer, or whatever. Yeah. But a lot of the best filmmakers, the classic ones who make those kinds of movies that you mention, they're involved in all aspects of the filmmaking, and they put their print on every aspect of it. Like with Alien, Ridley Scott, he was the cameraman on Alien. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons that movie looks so fucking amazing. Even by today's standards, with all the fancy gadgets and all the rest of it, that every shot of that film looks fantastic because he personally filmed it. And so you get like a level of quality there that you don't get when everyone's split into compartmentalized members on the crew. But also, I mean, when I was making the short films, I was involved in everything as well. I was writing, producing, directing, editing. And I did one low-budget feature film with about 30-odd people on it, but I was in charge of every fucking aspect of the film, you know.
How was that?
Set designs and everything, the whole lot. I was doing the lot.
Was that difficult?
Hard work, yeah. It took a lot of work, but so much fun. Yeah. But, I mean, what I found when I was doing that was, I mean, first of all, I learned to put my own print on it, you know. So when I'd be picking out the costume designs, I'd be thinking about the characters, and I'd be thinking, what do I want to communicate about the character through the costume? Because you can say things about a person just with things like that, you know. And with the set designs, the lighting, the colour, everything can have meaning in a film if you apply yourself to it creatively, you know. And so, because I was doing that with my own films, I thought I was being dead clever with it, wasn't I, you know? But turns out there was others who were doing it way fucking better than I ever could, like, you know. So when I started studying, like, the old Hitchcock films and things like that, some of the things I was finding blew me fucking head off.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, stuff that, like, I was like, how the fucking hell did I never, ever notice that? Example, right, a bit of a funny one, this, but you remember Hellraiser?
Yeah.
Classic. Yeah. You know, Clive Barker was a Scouser who made that.
No.
Yeah, he's a Scouser. He's from Childwall.
Is he?
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me that a Scouser would make a hard-hitting film like that you know, sort of crosses the boundaries so much, you know. Well, in Hellraiser, I mean, you probably haven't seen the film for years, but there's a scene where a young girl in it, a wall opens in the hospital and she walks down, and then this monster chases her down the hallway. I don't know if you remember that scene.
Do you know what? It's a long time ago, and I did watch all those old classics, because I remember when I lived in Speak, there used to be a fella just turning up in his car with loads of videos, like VHS back in the boot.
Rent them from someone's the boot of the car. I remember that.
Yeah, I used to rent them from the boot of someone's car. I saw it, and there'll be copies, like, but you know, that'll be Hellraiser and fucking El Commando and all them films were on there.
Funny. Boss. But anyway, the Hellraiser one, that scene in that, I mean, a lot of people watching will remember the scene, but this creature chases this girl down this corridor, and there's a lot of sexual stuff in that Hellraiser film, you probably remember. Well, anyway, the creature is basically a big cock. It's a penis. It's a long creature with a thin, sort of bulbous head, and it's chasing her, and it's basically a big erect penis. And I saw that, and I was like, whoa, how the fuck I've never heard of this before. I never noticed it. And I went and looked at the script, and the way Clive Barker laid it out in the script, what the creature looked like, I was like, fucking hell, this guy's smart. Yeah. You know, and the whole film's chock full of stuff like that. So yeah, discovering all those things, it's like, I can't keep this to myself. I want to share this, let people know about all this interesting stuff, you know. So doing the videos on it, you know, people love it because they're getting to see something that they don't find anywhere else online. And the reception's been fucking brilliant over the years. I mean, I get academics writing to me, like PhD academics, you know, and they're like fans, lawyers and PhD doctors, and I love the videos. And even psychologists are writing to me and saying, love the stuff. Yeah. And sometimes I get like film teachers in film schools email and saying, can I show this video to the class? And they'll go and like show them as part of the course in the class, and it's like, wow, this is great, you know. And then sometimes I get people who work in the film industry get in touch as well, and sometimes people who've actually worked on the films that I've reviewed, and they tell me all kinds of interesting stuff. So it's been awesome, and you know, I've been doing this stuff since 2006, and I would have thought I'd have got bored of it now, but no, I haven't. I still love it.
You told me that you'd left your job and everything, and this actually supports you.
Well, this the thing is that I sort of crossed it over at many years. It was when I started doing the stuff, I knew it was going somewhere, but I didn't want to take the financial risk, so I continued to work part-time, and I was doing all the video stuff part-time on the side. So while I built that up, I was earning me money part-time and doing all the mental health stuff and all that. And as the income gradually started to build up, then it was like, oh, fuck the job off now, you know. Yeah. But I had to wait until I was certain about it, you know, especially, I mean, I've got a 7-year-old daughter now, and when you got a kid, you can't take those kinds of risks, can you? You know?
Financial security or insecurity is going to fucking...
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind living in poverty myself. Couldn't give a shit, because I have kind of come from it myself. Yeah. Doesn't bother me. You know, all this stuff about going around with like expensive clobber and showing off an expensive car, I couldn't give a fuck about that. It's like, that's not who you are, you know. No. So yeah, it's been an awesome journey. There's been tons of stuff has gone on in between when we were at school and where I'm at these days. And it was interesting when I saw your movie and I saw your podcast you did with the Geordie guys. Yeah. And I was like,
Big Brian.
Wow, that's Billy from school. No way. And you always had an edge to you in school. You know, I always liked that about you.
I said to my partner yesterday, he was going to do an interview with Rob, and I said, isn't it strange that other people can see things, you know, from years ago that you never kind of knew? And you were telling me stuff, and I was like, wow, was that?
What was it telling you? Just
about the way I was, and I was always getting involved in fights. And
yeah, you were in loads of fights at school, yeah, and not necessarily your fault either.
I know, and that's something that I picked up on. Is like I was probably subjected to a lot.
You was, yeah. I mean, the basic thing I remember is that you were from Speak, and that was unusual. And I always felt for you on that level in school, you know, because you were the first person I met in school. And when I saw some of like the hostility you got, I was like, fucking hell, he doesn't deserve this, like. And But you took it and you gave back. You know what I mean? And you were always doing the weights and stuff. And I didn't want to mess with you. You were always doing the boxing and everything. I thought, don't fucking mess with Billy, like, you know. And to be honest, mate, you know what? I think that was part of the issue in school. It wasn't just that you were from Speak. You had an edge to you. And I think maybe some of the other lads might have felt a bit threatened by that. Like, so they sort of gang up on you a bit, like, you know. That's what I remember anyway. You might remember it differently.
I just remember, like, you know, that old saying as a kid, sticks and stones may break your bones, but names will never hit you. And it was the name calling that killed me off.
Yeah.
Do you know, being from a different part of the city, having to travel to a school up in Garston, and not feeling a part of it.
Yeah.
Not feeling like I fitted in. And getting called all kinds of fucking horrible names, really. You know, and at a young age growing up, you know,
it damages you at that age.
It does, you know, and I it affected me because what that did, and I hope that people who even, you know, young lads watch this, you go to college, you know, be aware that, you know, you could have an impact on someone's mental well-being. And there's no such thing as mental health back in the day, was there?
No one gave a shit.
No one, like, no one acknowledged mental health. It was like, he's on a bend, or he's crazy, or he's a loon. Yeah. That was it.
Yeah.
Right? For me, I felt like I was getting isolated with all the horrible name calling and stuff. And that separated me from society as a whole.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, that took me down a path that I went. Resentments were building up, anger, you know, and the fuckets kicking in.
Yeah.
And where you went on a different path, I suppose that, you know, we've all got our life mapped out in front of us, haven't we, in a sense?
Well, you know what? I mean, like, my life hasn't been nearly as violent as yours, nowhere near it, like. I mean, I could say that just based on school, never mind everything you've been through since. Yeah. But I was affected psychologically. I mean, people were brutal back then. The name calling was fucking awful. And it wasn't just being a victim of it. We all got sucked into it. Some of the things I said to people back then in mid-teens and that at school, and so, well, in and outside of school, some of the things I said to people back then, taking the piss out of them, horrible. You know, and I think back and I think, Jesus, if I bumped into so-and-so from school back then, I think I'd just fucking say, you know, I'm really, really fucking sorry, please. You know, forgive me, you know. Yeah. It's a funny one because I don't know if you're aware, but there's a St. John Allman's Facebook page now.
I've seen it, yeah.
I went on there and I told them on there, I said, oh, look, Billy's a movie and stuff, and they were all made up, you know. But something interesting I found going on there, and some of the old teachers are from there. I'm not going to mention names. A certain PE teacher who was dead funny is on there. He's always there all the time. Funny guy. And something that popped up time and time again in the St. John Allman's Facebook page was that a lot of people were going on and talking about how hard a time they had at school, and they were saying, this teacher fucking did and said this, and these people bullied me and blah, blah. And it's like 30 years later, and they're still affected by it. Yeah. And you can see it's damaged their lives, you know. So yeah, it was a common thing, and I was subjected to it as well. I had a lot of it inside and outside of school. I had people who were horrible to me, and my confidence fucking fell through the floor around about the time I left school. I was about 15 or 16, and I knew I didn't want the lifestyle, you know, with all the drugs in it, because everything was fucking drugs and crime back then. You either did that or you were a fucking wuss, basically. Yeah. And my mates outside of school, they weren't from St. John's. Most of them were from Neways, which was pretty much
the enemy, weren't it?
Yeah, it was the enemy, but it was the same type of school, really. Same problems and that, you know. Same problems as St. John's and that. But I had to get away from it all, because, I mean, I was lucky in that when I was 7 years old, I was born in Netherley, lived there till I was 7, and you know, in those times, Liverpool was rough, and it stayed rough until at least 1990. It still is rough, really, isn't it? But I would have gone down a really dark path as well, probably similar to your type of thing. But because I was lucky that when I was 7, my dad was a psychiatric nurse, and we went to live in Canada, and we lived there for 5 years. So I got to see a very different way of life. The people over there were much more polite and caring and nice, but they didn't have the Scouse edge. They didn't have the humour that we got here. That's the price in it. You got the humour, but you got the cruelty with the Scouse culture. So I'd experienced that for 5 years, and then when I was about 12, we came back to Liverpool. And I got the shock of my life going to schools in Liverpool. Suddenly it was all skinheads who were hard as fuck, who wanted to fight all the time. And I had to adapt.
It's just a culture shock, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I had to adapt and get back into it. And my way of dealing with it was, instead of becoming a hard fucker, because I was never a hard fucker in school. I wouldn't say I was one of the wusses who got knocked around or anything, but my way of dealing with it was to just have a fucking laugh. You know, I used to do a lot of stupid things in school for entertainment value, and I found, like, any bullies in school, they'd just go, "Oh, he's all right, eh, guys, a laugh." You have a laugh with him, he's sound.
There was like a few bullies back then, wasn't he, that I remember.
My way of dealing with all that was I got away from everyone. I must have been about 18, maybe 19 years old, and we moved away from Garston. I moved away with my dad. We went and lived up in Walton. Not that Walton's any better, but I didn't know anyone up there, so I wasn't involved with all, like, gangs of lads knocking on the door. Are you coming out to fucking have a spliff, blah blah, you know, all that kind of stuff, because everyone just wanted to fucking get high all the time.
That was the opposite for me.
Yeah,
because we moved from Speke to the South End in Soxteth. And it was like we left at, like, an early age, and for me, again, I didn't know anyone, but I wanted to meet everyone, and by doing that, I met all the wrong people.
Well, there you go. Well, that's the thing, is I didn't want to meet everyone. I'd seen the path that all my mates were going on, and because I knew a bit different, because I'd lived in Canada, I knew there was another way of living. And I felt sorry for my mates in a way. I mean, because that was all they knew, you know. And it's not that I was any better than them. I'd been lucky enough to see something else. And so I moved up the other end of the city with my dad, and by that point, I'd had, like, a massive identity crisis. About whether I wanted to be in the scally life or not, what I wanted to do in my future. I felt like I had no fucking prospects. I had no qualifications, didn't have any fucking skills, no confidence or nothing like that. So what the fuck do I want to do in my life? And it was a really dark place to be. And I ended up seeing a psychiatrist at the time as well. And he was like, there's nothing actually wrong with you. Nothing cognitively or anything like that. You're just fucking depressed and down as fuck, you know. And so yeah, I ended up moved into a bedsit on my own in Anfield, and you know, just like one room. Your living room is your bedroom, with a kitchen, a toilet, and all that. And I lived there for about 2 years, and I'd say, like, for the first six months or so, I was reading tons of self-help books, psychology books, and all that, because no one ever gave me any encouragement back then. And you probably had the same thing. There was no role models to show you a better way of living.
No, definitely not. No.
There was a severe lack of them, and but I found those role models in these books I was reading. You know, and books like you know, like famous self-help books, like what was it? How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was a famous book that was from before I was born, I think. And then stuff like Tony Robbins with Awaken the Giant Within, and stuff like that. And so I was reading all that kind of stuff, and that was giving me the motivation. And at the same time, I was trying to sort out my own problems. I had a lot of psychological problems back then, and some of it was nothing to do with all the scally thing. I had other problems that were going on. I was pretty fucked up. And so I was studying all these psychology books and things, and self-help things. And
have you ever read The Road Less Travelled?
I've heard of it, but I've not read it.
That's probably a
good one, yeah.
I've read that, and it's probably...
I mean, still today, I find books that help me out and teach me new things. Like, you know, I'm not sorted yet. I've still got my little fucked up things I'm trying to sort.
You're not alone there, mate.
It carries on forever, doesn't it? But, so yeah, I've just blitzed all these books and started figuring out what was fucking up with me mentally, and started, like, changing, like, getting a different view on my memories, and getting rid of all the anger and hostility and all the name calling shit that we all went through that had damaged us. I started to put that into context and deal with it, and I learned how to not give a fuck what other people think, you know, even like a gang of fucking lads just, like, taking the piss, having a laugh at you. I got to a point where I didn't give a fuck about stuff like that, and it was like lads could do that, and I'd just be like, yeah, whatever, sound, you know. And then that takes the fire out of them, because whenever you had that kind of stuff, and I did it to other people as well in school, we'd absolutely rip the piss out of people. But when people respond and they don't give a fuck, you lose your motivation to attack them. So that was an important thing, was learning to just think for myself and not give a fuck what other people think.
Well, that's like going on identifying with what you said. It's like, I was talking to a few of the lads in the gym, and the big hombres, you know, the big lads and that. And we were talking about how do we feel. Because in this day and age, there's kids out there who are 13 that'll just stab you.
Yeah.
Stab you in the neck, whatever, and you're gone.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? So it's about how do you react to a situation. If you go in a shop or you're just walking down the road or getting out your car and someone says something to you. And one of these kids went, you know what, mate? And he's a big lad, he went, and he's not soft. He went, let's just go, yeah, all right, lads, yeah, I'm a knobhead and move on. He said, just accept it. Just
why not? Yeah.
He said, because it's your ego and it's your pride that gets involved. Your pride will get you killed.
Yeah, done right.
Both of them, your ego and your pride, you know, hey, who the fuck does he think he is? I'll show him. Next thing, you're lying on a fucking hospital slab.
Yeah.
That's the reality of your ego and your pride.
Defo. I mean, I sort of came to a similar conclusion on that, really, based on working in the mental health for years, because I was working with a lot of criminals, you know. I fucking worked with paedophiles and all kinds of stuff, and it's fucked up people, and some of these people were, like, pretty intimidating, and, like, because they were nuts. And like psychos are scary because you don't know what they're going to do, you know, and they know how to use body language to intimidate and all that stuff. So years working in that, I was bouncing around working in different environments, doing all that kind of stuff. And I was exposed to loads of people who had the potential for violence. And I saw a lot of kickoffs. I was involved in some kickoffs as well in that field. But I sort of started to learn about ways of diffusing situations like that. And the one I found the most powerful was humour. If you can get someone, people find it hard to be angry and amused at the same time. Yeah, it's hard. When you laugh, there's a release, isn't there? The anger just goes. So you get gangs of fucking arseholes who are just like ripping into you. Yeah. If you turn it into a joke, like you said, yeah, I'm a fucking knobhead or whatever, they'll laugh at that and they go, oh, he's all right, him. Yeah. And it's almost like a test. What lads do in this city, they take the piss out of strangers. Dan said that goes a little bit. And if your ego gets flared up, they go, oh, let's fucking batter him. Yeah. But if you just have a laugh with it, they go, sound, mate, you're onto it. I was in this rehab. I'm not mentioning which one. It was in Essex, it was out of the way. And we done something called. I was going through the shit at the time. Like, you know what I mean? We done something called DBT. Right? I don't know if you've ever heard of it. What's that stand for?
Dialectical behaviour therapy. Okay. Right, so I've never heard of it. I've heard of CBT and 12 steps and stuff. That self-aware stuff that helps you develop emotionally and grow in them areas and become aware of how you behave and how you interact and how you respond and all that stuff that goes on in life that we need to deal with. Yeah. But this was like how to diffuse. One of these lessons was how to diffuse a volatile situation. And it was like, hi, big, huge smile, palms facing out, down, right, leg forward, and they stance. And I was like, are you fucking having a laugh? How's that going to diffuse anything? If I'm standing in a crack den, arguing with someone, right, over a pipe, right, and they go, hi, right.
Do you think you're taking the piss out of them?
Non-threatening, and I'm saying that, non-threatening stance. How are you? I go, get the fuck, you get battered, know what I mean? So, I don't know. I like the idea of how to diffuse situations with a bit of humour, because that's all I ever did.
Well, I mean, there's no approach that fixes every situation. No. It depends on the
individual.
Yeah.
What the situation.
Yeah.
There's people have gone beyond anger. I mean, you've probably seen this in a lot of the films that you've analysed. You know what I mean? How the directors have sort of cultivated their characters into a lot of this. You know, like what Full Metal Jacket's a big one, isn't it? The way the suicide. Yeah, that was heavy, wasn't it?
It is, yeah.
You know, and that was down to being bullied in a military establishment.
Yeah, yeah. And you know that scene in that film where they smash his chest in with the bars of soap and the tiles. That really goes on. It's called a blanket party. Yeah, it really goes on in the Marines.
But why?
It's fucking sick, isn't it? But it's a control mechanism, isn't it? You know, it's. I mean, in the film, there's kind of like a thing where the drill sergeant set him up for that, didn't he? Yeah. The drill sergeant was like, okay, I'm going to punish you. I'm going to punish the whole team.
Collectively, as a team.
When you fuck up, I'm going to punish everyone else. And basically, that was just telling everyone else to kick the shit out of him, you know. And so, yeah, that goes on in the military. So, you know, the video I did on that was all about the military brainwashing thing. But it's funny that you get a lot of lads who grow up with that kind of violent thing.
The mentality.
And a lot of them join the military for the
The extreme violence?
Well, yeah, some do for that, but I think some join for like, they want like a father role model.
Well,
And they get that from the discipline. They need some control in their lives. And so they join the military because it's like, this will discipline me, this will keep me out of trouble. But then you get brainwashed at the same time.
Yeah, my brother, right, he was into Metallica and Iron Maiden. He had his hair growing long, and he was like, just not like anyone you'd ever think would join the army. And me, I was the opposite. I was going to join. I was in the cadets. I was in the Royal Artillery cadets. I was in Alcar. I was doing all the Lee Enfield 303s, the webbing on, you know, the 3.8 webbing, all that gear going on. And I ended up in prison. One day he just snapped. A relationship ended with some girl he was with, and he thought, fuck it. And then he was in the army for 27 years.
Wow.
He got out on RSM. So
Did it help him being in the army?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Discipline, travel.
Yeah.
Cultivated something within him.
I mean, there are perks to it. A lot of people do well out of being in the army.
You know, you know, he did witness. He was, you know, he'd been on a lot of tours, Afghan and Bosnia, and you know, he's been around because he joined really young, so he'd seen a lot of action. He'd been in, you know, a lot of, you know, he's actually like his friends have been blown up and stuff. They've lost lives and stuff. We're quite lucky. But yeah, he's a bus driver now. All the best, our kid. I don't even think he watches these podcasts, but if you do.
He's like, that's not, and I've seen like fucking a million times where use a wusses use.
Seen fuck all, you kid.
You want Thai prisons, not, and fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. So we've all had our different tips. And
but you know what? It's funny. We were talking about the what was it, DBT? You called it. Yeah. So did you find that completely useless?
I did.
Yeah,
I did. I think it was more to do with basically it was like a mindfulness group, right? Yeah. I think it originated from America. It was some kind of form of therapy, and I thought, you know what? If you start getting involved in all kinds of different therapy or therapeutic, holistic ways of trying to fucking live, you're gonna end up confused.
Yeah. It can do that, yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I found when I was reading all them books, and I was practicing the stuff because I was doing the job, working in all them environments, and I was trying out the things that I was looking at other staff who were good at dealing with things, and I was like learning things from them that weren't in the books and all that, and then I was seeing other staff who'd fuck up and cause a kick-off, and I'd watch how it would happen. And so I sort of slowly learned over years all these different ways of communicating with all these troubled people, you know. And I got pretty good at it, at dealing with people who were going to kick off and that, you know. Yeah. I mean, one of the basic things is, you were talking about the pride thing. You know, don't get into a pride competition with whoever the fuck it is. But, I mean, some of it is basic body language stuff, like someone starts kicking off and it's like the shoulders always hunch up, the chest comes out.
The neck raised.
They try and stand taller, like, you know.
Like cobra.
The voice gets more intense and all that kind of stuff. And typically, to get to a point of an actual fight, the other person has to match that and do the same. They just start fucking doing the same, and then they do it more. And as always, the chest gets higher and higher. Little details like that. And if you're ever in those situations, you're not aware of that stuff, but it's going on. And you wind each other up, and then eventually someone takes a swing, and next thing you know, someone's fucking hurt. So what I noticed was that, like, whenever there was a situation like that, someone would come along and they'd start kicking off and they'd always like move towards you, stare in your face, and the voice would become very intense and stuff like that. And I started finding it, I wouldn't necessarily back down, but I started finding it, if I just kept my body language just dead calm, relaxed, and my voice kept my voice sort of mellow and slow. If I talk slowly, then they had to slowly listen, and it would force them to fucking calm down. Just things like that, you know. And so they'd be doing that escalating body language, and I'd just be keeping mine in a nice monotone, and it freaked them. They wouldn't be aware that I was doing it, but after a couple of minutes, they'd be coming to me expecting to get into a proper argument or fight. And after a minute or two of that, they'd be like, it isn't coming to that. And then they'd start just talking normally. And I'd be, okay, what's the problem?
So you've diffused
but
potentially volatile
But of
situation.
course, the other thing was that always give the person the benefit of the doubt that they've got a reason for kicking off. So what's the problem? You know, okay, let's deal with it. just explain to me calmly what the problem is. But of course, this is in those environments, you know, where you're a staff member and that.
And it's
with there's cameras. Sometimes there's cameras in the street. Sometimes this stuff works as well. I've had it happen in the street, but sometimes in the street it utterly fucking fails. I had one experience of that. I finished a night shift working in a probation hostel, and I was walking along Lodge Lane. I was walking home because I lived around the corner there, and it was like a Sunday morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. Streets were empty, you know. And I'm walking home, and I heard, "What the fuck are you laughing at?" And there was this guy across the road, pretty stocky, with no top on. He wasn't dead tall. He was a bit shorter than me, but he was pretty fucking more built than I was anyway. And I thought, oh, here's trouble. And there's no one else around, so he's got no witnesses, so he can just fucking have a crack at me, you know. And he comes storming over. And I'd dealt with situations like that in work and sometimes out of work, and I'd always diffused it. But on this one occasion, there was nothing I could fucking do. This guy comes storming over, and when usually they start approaching you, and within like, I don't know, maybe a few meters, they'll sort of stop, slow down, because they don't really want to fight. But when he got within a few meters and he carried on moving, I thought, oh shit, he is actually going to go for it. And he did. He took a swing. And I did that thing, I didn't even know what it was called at the time, where you ride the punch. Someone takes a swing and you move your head in that direction and it slows down the impact. And he clocked me right on the side of the jaw there, knocked me right over anyway. And when I was trying to get up off the ground, I sprained both of my wrists on the floor trying to get up, and I couldn't form a fist to fight back. So all I could do was block. And this guy was attacking me for about 5 fucking minutes, swinging all over the place. And I was just block, move away, block. And fucking hell, when's this guy going to chill out? And then he started talking to me, and it became clear he had a mental health problem. So anyway, long story short, he got 3 months in prison because he attacked about fucking 8 or 10 lads that morning. He's just walking the streets, attacking any lad he saw. You know, so that was a situation where none of the techniques that I'd learned fucking came in handy.
Just bit his ear off, lad. Honestly, God, that's what I was thinking as you were talking. I'll fucking bite his lips off.
Well, that's it. I took a shock from that first blow, and then I couldn't form the fists, you know. But
was that the first time you've been attacked, do you think?
No, I've been in other fights before, like, but that was the first time a random person had come at me, like, in the street like that, like, you know.
Targeted you for no reason.
Yeah. But yeah, that was pretty scary, that, like. But it's funny because, like, when I came to my senses and he walked off, then I got angry and I thought, there's no one. And I grabbed a brick.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to smash this cunt's fucking head in. And I started following him, and I thought, he's not even looking back. I could brick this guy in the back of the fucking head and walk home.
I feel like Shane just should have, to be fair, you know what I mean?
He was mentally ill.
Yeah.
You know, he shouldn't have gone to prison, you know. He should have gone to some sort of rehab or something.
It's like, but at that moment, you know, it's anything can happen. Anything's possible.
But the reason I didn't follow him and fucking hit him was because I thought I'll get some compensation out of this. I didn't get none because I wasn't properly injured. But I'm glad I thought that, because if I'd have hit him in the head with a brick, that could have put me in prison.
That's what didn't separate me from the men from the boys years ago. I wouldn't think in that. Yeah. I wouldn't go through that process and play the tape a little bit forward and think this happens, that happens, that. I'll just react bang in a minute. No matter what, that'd have been the pair of us on the floor, rolling round. Yeah, someone losing a body part. I don't know. Yeah, probably an ear.
Well, I mean, I was in the busy car when they finally got him. Loads of police were looking for him everywhere, and I was sat in the car over the road, and he was in the other car. And the busies had stamped on his head in the street because he was resisting arrest. So they put him in the car, and he was rocking back and forth, you know, like mentally ill. Like he was, I don't know if he was on something, and he was spitting on the windows, and I could hear in the radio in the car what he was saying in the radio in the other car, and he was saying, "Look, officers, all I want is violence." That's what he said, word for word. Not normal, like, fucking hell.
So, you know, you've talked about mental health and how you work with it and how you deal with it. That's important. So, getting back to some of your film reviews. I know you've reviewed mine. What was your thoughts on that? Because how did you come across that?
My cousin Martin, who was in the year above us, I won't say his last name. I think we said we weren't going to say people's names from school, but
You mentioned no names.
yeah. That was my request on it. But so my cousin who was in the year above us, he sent me a link to your Geordie podcast thing. He said, "Fucking hell, Billy from your years, and they've made a movie about him." So that's how I found out, you know.
Yeah.
And then instantly I was like, "Okay, I'll watch this." I watched the whole podcast and I was fascinated with that. And then I went and got hold of a copy of your film, watched that, and it was really good. And I saw that A24 Films with the distributor, and they're the best distributor these days. They always put out the best films. So, I really enjoyed it. I didn't do a video on your movie. I think I briefly mentioned it. Maybe I might have been doing a video where I was talking about lots of new films.
Yeah, and that came up as one of them.
Yeah, so I recommended that one. And I mean, the film's very raw and very basic, isn't it?
Yeah.
It left me wanting more because I knew you from school, and I was interested in the parallel between what you went through in school and what you went through in the prison.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much that occurred to you, but that was the bit that I was really interested in. But I didn't get that from the film, but it was still a good movie anyway.
Yeah, well, I think what the aim of it, right, because there was no backstory.
Yeah.
There's no backstory to the film. It starts in some old Thai fucking gym where there's a fight, and then a nightclub, and then you're in prison. That's it.
Yeah.
Right, that's it. And the director was quite clever. He removed the subtitles, and that confused the audience, which he understood. Because if the audience were confused, then he knew the character was confused.
Yeah.
Also,
definitely. Yeah.
so with me, or Joe Cole playing the role of me, he was like, what the fuck are they saying? And the audience are thinking, what are they talking about? So it kind of immerses you in that.
It's a very immersive film, defo.
Yeah, you feel like you're involved.
Yeah.
It's the edits were long.
Yeah.
You know, there was no cuts.
Which I always like. I hate
Yeah.
it when films are over-edited.
There was no edit. There was just the long cuts. The fighting scene was, you know, the DOP, which is, for those that don't know, is a director of photography. He was in the ring with a handheld camera,
Yeah.
just following. That was how the fight scene was.
Yeah.
And it was like, there was no edit. It was just long scenes.
It was good. It was really fucking raw.
Yeah.
So I loved it on that level. Yeah. I just felt like there was that's one of the reasons why when I get my podcast started after I move house, I want to get you on there because I want to discuss what you've been through.
Yeah, we'll save that for yours.
Because I knew you from school, I feel like I could ask you for some key questions. You know.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
What was the best movie that you felt that you'd seen or reviewed, or who was your most favourite director, character?
My favourite
actor?
movie still today, and it's been my favourite movie pretty much since I was 9 years old, is Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior. Remember that one?
Yeah.
It's
That
the
with
beast.
Tina Turner?
No, that was the third one.
Was it?
The second one was the dead violent one with the oil tanker chase at the end. And there's
That was an heavy film, that, wasn't it, back in the day? And
it was
an apocalyptic kind of...
it was that was the first movie that film sort of really established the post-apocalyptic style with all the dirty, gritty look and all that, you know. And loads of films tried to imitate it afterwards, but none of them succeeded. It was fucking amazing. But now as a filmmaker, I look at it and I'm impressed even more because all those stunts and car crashes, there's no computer graphics, there's no miniature cars being smashed up or blown up or anything. They fucking smashed up the real things. You see an oil tanker crash, and that's a real oil tanker that's being ran off the road and into the ground with a load of cameras around it. And when you read up about how it was filmed, they didn't give a fuck about health and safety. There'll never be another film like that again. Yeah. You got guys jumping from one car to another, and you can see how they're moving before they jump. They actually are scared, these stuntmen. Yeah. And they could have fucking died. And some of them were ending up in hospital for weeks, you know, smashed up a bit. And then once they get better, you know, the Aussies were mad. Straight back on the film shoot to do some more stunts. So I just love the audacity of how they made that film. It's, the guts that they had to just film all this mad car crashes and stunts and everything. But then the story's fantastic as well. I mean, I could go on about that movie.
Yeah,
I fucking love it.
It's interesting. I think one of my favourite movie was True Romance.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah, I've seen it. Tarantino scripted it, didn't he? Yeah,
scripted it. Brilliant. And it was just the way that there was that monologue, that scene. where Dennis Hopper is sitting in a chair
with
Christopher Walken's.
Yeah.
You know, he's ready to just plug him. And he
That's
knows.
fucking brilliant, that scene.
And he's talking about like Sicilians being the greatest liars, and you know, can you tell? It was just a fucking great scene. It was just a whole great movie. Brad Pitt and everyone was in that. There's all kinds of old school actors in there that was just flew to stardom because of that.
I mean, some of the stuff I do online, I'm always covering the old movies. Occasionally I'll do modern ones, but the modern ones, I just find they haven't got the grit. I mean, the one they did on Your Life, that had the grit. You know, it was ballsy, and it wasn't trying to push any agenda down your throat or anything like that. You know, it felt real, you know.
The director, was John Stefan. He immerses himself in every movie that he's ever made, right? The first one I'd seen him do was called Johnny Mad Dog.
Yeah.
Right, and it was about African boy soldiers. I think he's in Liberia, and he actually lived with them for over a year, and he used non-actors.
Yeah.
As cast, he casted non-actors and a few actors that were involved as well. But that became what it became. And I watched it, knowing that he was going to be the director of this movie. For fucking hell, you know, we got like great reviews. It was criticised really well.
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes and the IMDb. It was a big number.
I haven't read any bad reviews on it. Like,
it was good reviews. And then he done the same on A Prayer Before Dawn. He lived in Thailand for a year, and he casted non-actors, ex-inmates. It was just a great. He just immersed himself in that world.
Yeah.
And he's doing another one now with I don't know whether it's I can't remember who it was. I don't know whether it's Sean Penn or I don't know. It's something to do with New York Ambulance Service. Now there's a new one on the cards. I can't remember who the actor was. But that'll be a great one as well.
Well, that's like a dead important thing, because I've talked about this before. Like, I mean, I've made a handful of films myself, but it was using like cheap technical equipment. There's no way I'd ever get a distribution deal with like I mean, I was making films that weren't even HD. Yeah. You know, but I didn't give a shit about that. I just wanted to make stuff that was interesting. But I've had like a lot of people ask me over the years, well, you know, other filmmakers, amateur filmmakers, you know, I'm looking for inspiration. I want to make a great movie and all that. And they ask, have you got any advice on that? Not that I'm some fucking big name director, but they seem to respect me enough to ask. And there's a piece of advice I always give them, which often gets frowned upon, like, whoa, I didn't expect that. And that is, get some life experience. Yeah. And make a film about something you've experienced in the real fucking world. Don't be trying to imitate Tarantino or whoever. And I mean, that's what that director's doing, what you say. He goes and lives the life there, gets to know it, and so he's full of information about that environment, and he's not imitating other filmmakers, he's imitating life, you know. Like, I would love to make a film about all the rough culture in Liverpool back in the day. Yeah. That could be a beast of a film.
Oh, but brilliant.
You brought up the key point there. You couldn't do it with actors who weren't from Liverpool. You'd have to get the real deal Scousers to play those parts, and they'd have to be Scousers who lived in those times and knew it.
And,
you know,
and I agree, because I've my first book was the audio. Right, there's an audio book to the first one, I Pray Before Dawn. There's an audio book to it, and it was read by a non-Scouser who was putting on a Scouse accent. It was a kid from London, bit of an actor. You know, fair play to him, he's done what he's done, and that's what it was. Now, there's a second one called Fighting for My Life, and it's a follow-on, but it's also, there's a lot of contributing factors as to why I ended up in these situations, and the experiences and the comparisons of different prisons in different countries and different cultures, and how it affected me as an individual, going through life. And they were sending me these two guys, little audio, because they're going to do an audio. Yeah. Both of them, I don't think they were from Liverpool, but they had a go at the accents, and I was like, fucking hell, this is going to be like the first one. And my mate, he's an actor, been in Batman, he's been in a lot of fucking movies. He's old school Scouser, he was Little Jimmy in Brookside, he was Stephen Walters, nice kid. He's done the audio for me.
Yeah.
And he's just a...
Sounds loads better.
It's just authentic. That's what we need.
Yeah.
The authenticity. You know, I write this, I sit down at a table in front of a computer and I'm fucking, my fingers are killing me. You know, my mind's on overload. I'm fucking trying to think. Because it's not easy to write a story, write a book. You know that, writing scripts. Yeah. You know, you've got to like, okay, the beginning, the middle, the end. Okay, how's it going to work?
Oh, you can spend a fucking year writing one script.
Chronologically, it took me 14 months, chronologically, I'm going to do this. I haven't sat there and went, yes, can you write this while I dictate it, please?
Yeah.
Yes, my name's Billy and this is what I'm doing as I grew up and I yes, and then someone's doing all that. Nah, mate, if you want to write a book, right, if you want to write a book and you want an audience to believe in it, then you need to pour your feelings into that.
Absolutely,
you need to, that paper should permeate like everything about you. Yeah. Right, it's you. You know what I mean? It's not someone else, because it doesn't seem, and I think, right,
it's got to be your words as well.
That's the reason I believe A Prayer Before Dawn done so well.
Yeah,
I do. I still get today, you know, inboxes, loads of DMs, loved it, inspiring, read the book, you know, it helped me a lot.
I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to read it.
And I feel like a fraud, I feel like an imposter because I've had all this, you know, I've had a bit of an unsavoury way of living. You know, not of my choosing. They say, oh, you had choices. Well, what choices did we have? You said it earlier on, but there was no guidance, there was no support. I got the cane, right, in school. I don't know whether you did, right? I got the fucking cane, right? I got it 4 times in one hit once.
Yeah.
You were fucking bad enough to get it once. I got it 4 times. Like, what the you know what I mean? For robbing a bag of soldiers off the market and speak. And my ma blew me up and took me in, and Mr. Connor looked like... he looked like Peter Cushing, you know.
How old were you then?
I must have been about 7.
Oh, 7, right. Oh,
7 and 8.
That's a harsh age to get the cane, isn't it?
7. I was in junior school, 7, 8.
Yeah. See, I was off in Canada being treated
exactly,
nicely then.
Yeah, being treated. But I was out 7 or 8, and it was in St. Ambrose School, junior school as a kid, and I got regular, and I was thinking, you know, I'm getting battered at home, I'm getting abused by kids, like, and humiliated, and getting beaten by the teachers. No fucking wonder it turned out the way it did.
It brutalises you, there's no doubt about it.
So, these are the contributing factors. I didn't go, everything was easy, and, you know, fucking people, you know, it was hard, mate, it was, and, you know, I suppose that the path that it chose was one of anger and resentment, and also to suppress the feelings and experiences I had growing up as a young kid with drugs. And drugs, obviously, people know what happens then. You know, it leads to addiction, it leads to consequences, and the consequences were prisons, institutions, and almost death, violence, just the world. You know, and I'm glad I don't live in that world no more.
I mean, it's not just a case of what's been done to you, but, you know, if people say you had choices, I don't see that there was much choice. I was told by everyone when I was younger, in my teens, it's like, it's not even worth getting qualifications because there's no jobs. Yeah. And there was fuck all jobs then. I used to go down to the job centre in Garston, you know, when I just left school, and there was thousands of lads living like nearby, and there'd be like about 8 jobs, like trainee, office junior or some shit like that. These crappy jobs, but there wasn't enough of them to go around. You know, there wasn't even a tenth of the amount that was needed to go around. Yeah. So, and back then it was like the idea of going to university, it was like, that's what rich kids do.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't got the money or whatever for that, you know. I always felt, and I'm sure you felt the same way, that when I put on the TV and I saw people in business suits on the news and shit like that, that was like another world. That was an entirely separate world that I will never ever be involved with that. I can't be. I'm down here in the gutter, which is where they say I should be. And, you know, we were like very oppressed, you know. Yeah, there was hardly any jobs. You know, there was a lot of poverty, and just the social habits that were being put on you, peer pressure wise, were unbelievable. I mean, some of it was fucking hilarious as well. I mean, like, I don't know if you were there when this happened in school, but the last day of 4th year, loads of us went to Garston Market and we stole loads of eggs and tomatoes and shaving cream and all the rest of it. Fucking, we were walking back to school. Everyone had like 2 bags full of fucking shopping. Went back to school. And then everyone had like a food fight in the school on the last day. And it was fucking hilarious. Yeah. But at the same time, the social responsibility wasn't there. These poor sellers at the market, they didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. And that they were getting all the fucking food stolen by us. And that was kind of the attitude, was that like, we're all in the gutter. We've got fuck all to look forward to. So let's just have a laugh by breaking all the fucking rules. Yeah. You know, let's just cause chaos. Just for the fun, because we got nothing else to do. You know, that was...
I was probably hanging around on the fucking railway lines back. You were all doing that.
How old were you when you left school? You left early, did you?
Fourth year.
Fourth year,
I don't even think I went into 5th. I think, did we go into 5th? It was the 5th and 6th, I can't remember.
Was it the 5th year? I can't remember. I remember you left a bit earlier than I did.
Probably around about 15.
But I mean, like, even myself, like, I was bunking off about 50% of the time, just going off. And
by the time I was 16, I was in a grip of addiction.
Oh yeah.
And at the age of 17, I was in prison. So it couldn't have been. I think 2 years after leaving school.
God, you were rapid down the dark path.
I was in a. I was actually, we went on a YTS course in a place called Boston in Lincolnshire. And it was to be a trainee chef.
Oh, right, okay.
And it was to be on a ship called the John Sue. And if I recall it, I think it took an ounce of weed up with me. I think I'll sell this and live the dream in Boston. Sold it within a couple of days. Little £5 fucking deals. Smoked a little bit. I think I smoked more than I sold. And then I ended up getting nicked up there for fucking grafting while I was working on this, doing this trainee thing. And
but the YTS courses didn't pay you fuck all.
£27. I think it was £27. He ended up in a fucking care home, right? But it was a mixed care home actually for a week, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And when I went on for bail a week later, I refused it, and they went, we've got to send you home. Can I stay? I was like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? But you know, that's because I probably didn't. I felt a little bit accepted and a little bit apart or something.
Yeah,
and then when I went back to
experience something different, yeah.
When I went back to Liverpool, my mum and my dad had left Speak without telling me where they'd moved to.
Fucking hell.
So I knocked at the door. My man knows this, right? I knocked at the door and these strangers answered. I was like, where's my man? She said, oh, she's moved. I'll take you to where they've moved if you want to. Put me in his car and took me up there. I was like, fucking hell. And so yeah, I didn't feel like I was loved. You know what I mean? It was just that's the feelings that I was experiencing.
Yeah.
You know, he's done this, fuck him off, don't even tell him where we live.
Jesus.
I was a twat.
Yeah.
I was that.
Well, I mean, you know, that's rough. Like, I mean, you had it rougher than I did.
Yeah.
I had my own problems, like, but I was going to tell you something funny then. What the fuck was it about bunking off school? Oh, yeah. I mean, I wasn't asked about getting qualifications, so 50% of the time I was just bunking off school with a few of the lads from our year, and there was a house by Garston Station, and this house was like, no one was living in there, and someone had found out from the school that it was empty, so everyone was just going there and sitting off in this fucking house. We'd all climb over this wall in the back, sit in this house, and there was loads of furniture in there. There was a telly, so we'd all sit and watch telly in this house. And some of the lads were like, they were having a crap on the floor and stuff like that, just thinking it was funny. Well, we didn't even think, like, you know, someone's moved the furniture in, they're about to move in. And fucking these lads from school sitting there watching the telly. Well, anyway, someone called the busies, and you know, the police came around the back and shouted through, "Who's that in there? Get out!" and all this. So I got arrested and we all got thrown in the van and stuff, like, but that was just the kind of like typical stupid stuff that went on. Yeah. You know, it was, look, there's an empty house, let's just go in there and sit on this person's couch and watch the telly and stuff, you know.
Now you'd be charged with burglary, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I remember sitting there with the copper, the chief, whoever the hell he was, and he was looking at me dead sternly, like I'd been caught burgling. And that's it, he was trying to pin on me a burglary. And I think he really believed it. He thought that we'd gone in there to burgle, and I was just like, no, we went in there to watch telly. And he was looking at me like I was a fucking liar.
Yeah, it's not me.
Funny times.
You brought up a lot of stuff from back in the day. But going forward, what are you doing with yourself now today?
Well, I'm on the straight and narrow totally. I've been for years, but I've got a 7-year-old daughter now, and as you know, it changes. How old's your little one now?
He was one. Not so long ago. Yeah.
I saw your walking video of him on Facebook.
He was. Yeah, he's a little
it's awesome, but it changes your view on things. I find
definitely.
Your different appreciation of life. So that's changed me a lot. And so I'm raising her. I haven't drank alcohol for over 18 months. I've lost interest in it. Bored with it, the lockdown helps staying off the alcohol. So yeah, I mean, I'm due to move house soon. I've been a little bit sort of held back on progressing because I had a big court case that went on for 4 years. I've been fighting with this fucking company for like fucking 10, 11 years. I'd made a documentary exposing the scam that they were running, and they tried to sue me for 50 grand, and I defended that case and had some lawyers involved and all that. And this time I was suing them, and it dragged on for 4 years before they finally settled. So that was kind of something in the background that I had to get sorted out. And now that that's sorted out, I can take all the money that I'd saved up over the years anyway. And I'm going to move out soon. And then I'm starting up a podcast, do a similar thing to you. So you'll be one of my first guests on.
Looking forward to it.
But yeah, I want to expand into loads of other things. Definitely the podcast thing. And I was thinking like you look at like Joe Rogan and all these shows, and they're great, and they have a lot of really interesting people on. And I do want to get on people who are like, I want to get lots of intellectual people on and get all that stuff.
Diverse.
Yeah.
But
this is the thing. I want to start getting more people on who no one fucking knows.
Yeah.
Just like characters from Liverpool who no one's ever fucking heard of, who are dead interesting people, because I know plenty of them. Yeah. And just like, is so and so. None of you will know this fucking guy, but he's dead interesting.
And that's the most interesting people are the ones that no one knows about.
Yeah, often.
Call
it Scousecast, or I was thinking of calling it, what was it? At least it's not bum fights. Yeah. Do you remember bum fights? Yeah. I thought that'd be a good title.
Well, you've got the subscribers, so hopefully going forward, and I look forward to coming on.
Yeah.
But we're coming to the end now, so I always say this, Rob. Right? Have you got any pearls of wisdom? Anything to say to the audience? What would you say? Any bit of guidance, any life experience?
Okay, I mean, one of them I've already brought up, and that is like, don't give a fuck about what other people think of you. It's just like, I mean, you do have to a little bit of an extent, but the kind of people who want to hold you back and tell you that you can't do things, or try and laugh at you if you fail at doing something. Because I tried tons of shit over the years that I failed at, but the more you fail, the more you learn. So I just got into the habit of failing. It was like, great, another failure. I can learn. What did I learn from that failure? Awesome, great. Let's have another failure. And then when the successes come, it's like, that's even sweeter, But yeah, if you got people in your life who are messing you up, fucking you up, discouraging you, trying to bring you down, get rid of them. It's one of the best things I did was move away from Garston when I was younger. Yeah. I mean, no offence to all the lads from back then. They had the troubles. I had my troubles. I did and said nasty things as well. But I needed to get out on my own away from that environment and fix myself up. And it was the best thing I ever did. Brilliant. So, and it can be family, it can be friends, it can be really close people who can be fucking you up. And I saw that over the years working in the mental health as well. A lot of people, they were messed up by who they had close to them. So that would be probably the biggest thing that I'd advise to anyone, really.
Brilliant. And with that, we'll put all your socials on at the end of this video in the description. And what's your YouTube channel called? So,
well, the main one is called Collative Learning, COLLATIVE.
And I'll put that in the description as well. Yeah. And with that, mate, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Great to see you, Billy.
You too.